I'm sitting in the back, and I might come to the front later because when people have questions, it'll be difficult for me to recognize you from the back, except to be like, hey, you gray sweater, you know. So I think it would be a little bit more polite to be able to address people that I know by their names. And if I don't know you by your names, I'm glad to meet you. I'll say that in advance. So with that, I'm going to go back to the rear and take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Sharon.
I'm sorry, one more thing. There's a sign-in sheet that's going to get circulated. Okay, so please sign in. This is not an official committee meeting, so it will not count against or for your presence or absence.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jonah, and I'm a team leader, co-project lead for... can everybody hear me a little better now? Okay, great. My name is Jonah, and I'm a team leader and co-project lead for the Atlantic Avenue Mixed-Use Plan, or AAMUP. I'm also joined by a few colleagues from the Department of City Planning. Maybe I'll just quickly introduce ourselves.
Jesse Hirakawa.
And we have a few folks around the room, but I'll just say we have Alex, the director of the Brooklyn office, Lara, the director of neighborhood planning, and Bianca Bryan, an urban designer. And I'll turn it over to Sarit.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Sarit Platkin, the Director of Neighborhood Planning. Yep. Hi. Yep.
Stand up.
All right. Hi, I'm Sarit Platkin, the Director of Neighborhood Planning at the Department of Housing Preservation and Development. Really happy to be here with you today. And I'm joined by two colleagues, Paula, who's been the project manager for AAMUP, and we have also Amara, who is working on the Dean and Bergen projects, who will probably look familiar.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
And then we also have Jordan, who's a senior planner and liaison for Community District 8, and then from Tanya from the Department of Small Business Services. So now that we've introduced ourselves, we wanted to just open things up. You know, we're here, as Sharon said, we're here to discuss AAMUP, which is a plan for housing and job growth in central Brooklyn. In total, it's a plan that we project to create about 4,600 new homes, 1,440 of which would be income restricted. And then in Community District 8, about 3,300 new homes are projected, with around 1,100 of those being income restricted. And as I said, it's not just a plan for housing. We're also very serious about ways of creating more space for jobs. So we're proposing about 800,000 square feet for commercial community facility uses and other non-residential uses, which we estimate to be about 2,800 new jobs. So we're going to try to keep our presentation a little, tight and focused today. We know that many of you participated in past meetings, but we also want to give a chance to share some background and talk about the neighborhood plan process for those who haven't been involved. We're also going to talk about our environmental review, our racial equity reports, and then dive into the proposal itself, including some current and future investments that are an important part of the plan. I'm just going to pause for a second. Do we need to rearrange any chairs, or is everybody okay? Okay. All right, I will continue. Speak a little louder? Okay. Got it. Okay. Excellent. I'm used to being very soft-spoken, so this is a little outside of my comfort zone, but I'm going to speak as loud as I can. Those who know me understand that joke. All right. So many of you may be asking just what is a neighborhood plan? What do we mean by that? A neighborhood plan is an effort. It can mean different things, but it's often driven by local and citywide feedback priorities that we hear, like housing and job growth. It's also guided by trends that we see in the neighborhood, like trends of housing or land uses. And then while zoning and land use is a core part of the neighborhood plan, it's also meant to be holistic and comprehensive in that it includes ways of improving streets or improving parks, or thinking about how do we increase jobs or access to jobs for local residents. So that's truly meant to be a neighborhood plan in that holistic sense. And then how do we actually carry through a neighborhood plan? Many of you are here today because we're starting the Euler process, which is formally we're proposing a series of what are called land use actions, so changes in zoning or site-specific actions. But that's not all that we do. We also look at ways of improving or setting aside and securing money for parks or transportation, and then we coordinate with agencies like we're doing today with not only with the housing department and SBS or small business services, but also with the transportation or environmental protection. So we're very serious about ways of ensuring that if there are changes to a neighborhood, that we're doing it in a way that's protecting the quality of life and helping out existing residents. So I know many of you are familiar with private applications, and so we just want to talk a little bit about comparing the work that we're doing in AAMUP to some of those. So in Community District 8, there have been some of the most recent ones are 870 and 1034 Atlantic. Those are examples of private applications which are instigated by private developers. With AAMUP, what's different is that it's a public application. So we responded to a request from the community boards, from elected officials, from other stakeholders to advance a neighborhood-wide plan rather than kind of one-off or piecemeal proposals. And the reason why we do this is for many of the reasons I just stated, but also to maximize public benefits and ensure that there's accountability through the process. And that includes doing outreach before, during, and after, and making sure that we're carrying through a number of commitments and making the plan holistic. Oh.
I hit the cable.
And then here's just a map to show that we've had in both community districts 3 and 8 over 7 private applications. So this is a very active area, and one of the main reasons why we've been asked to have a neighborhood plan here. So now for a little background, taking a step back, where are we? This may be a little hard to read, but I'll just summarize that AAMUP is roughly 21 blocks from Atlantic, mainly along Atlantic Avenue, from Vanderbilt Avenue on the west to Nostrand Avenue on the east, and then bounded by Atlantic on the north, Bergenster on the south, and then we have 2 separate areas, which we'll get into more later in the presentation, which are meant as ways of supporting specific goals like affordable housing. Where are we right now in the process? So we're building on a lot of work that was led by Community Board 8 now over 10 years ago, called the M-Crown process, which I know many of you are deeply familiar with. In 2022, we responded to a request to advance a neighborhood plan and kicked off engagement, which was mainly in 2023. We released a community vision and priorities report in September of that year. And then over the past year, we've been focused on advancing some of those priorities and then putting forth a land use application and a draft environmental impact statement. Now that we have those pieces ready, we're now ready to start the public review process. And then I just want to say that right now we're in the middle of the 60-day community board review but there will be other opportunities for input with the Borough President, City Planning Commission, and finally City Council. At the end of the City Council's review, that's the point where we codify not only the zoning, but a lot of the other infrastructure and investment commitments made. But let me just say that our work doesn't even stop there. That's just the point of the commitments themselves, but we still have to implement those commitments and follow through on those. So our work continues even after the adoption of the plan, what we call the period of implementation. So a little, just brief historic context. Many are probably asking, how did the area of AAMUP come to be like it is today? And the story of that really starts when a freight rail line ran at grade in the 1800s and led to many businesses growing along the corridor, bringing goods to and from often like the Atlantic ports all the way down into Long Island. In the early 1900s, that freight rail was moved below grade, and the passenger rail portion continued as what we know today as the Long Island Railroad, or LIRR. In the coming decades, car use skyrocketed, and that's when a lot of those industrial uses that we saw evolved into more auto uses, like gas stations, repair shops, and what we see today is the character. In 1961, there was a large citywide rezoning that codified that auto-centric character and mapped an M11 zoning across the district, which was a very low, didn't allow for much growth at all, and prohibited any new housing from being created. Fast forward to the 1970s, as the city had a fiscal crisis and was dealing with white flight, disinvestment, we saw a huge population loss in around AAMUP, declining from about 130,000 to